Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma, and in this video I want to show you how I do a sort of magical potion effect on my, well, it's a Swampcalla Shaman from the Dominion set, but I'm using it as a Weirdboy for my bubblegum boys. And so I start out using a bit of, this is some sort of synthetic stuffing from like a teddy bear or a pillow or something like that. And I use that to give it a basis for the UV resin I'm going to use later on. And I just try to see if I can get it to fit properly. And I mean, you can see this is a little bit messy and a little bit something, something you just, try to make work as best you can. And I'm just using a bit of super glue to fit it in the bowl. The model comes with a really nice sort of magic effect spilling out of the bowl, but I just wanted something that was a bit more messy and a bit more orky for my bubblegum boys. And then I'm just using a pair of scissors to try and trim off the worst of the small strings of fabric coming out that I don't think I'll be able to use. And then I just try to see if I can position it so it looks like it's something that is coming out of the bowl, splashing down. And then I am doing a bit of an experiment. I'm taking some neon pigment. This is the magenta from Green Stuff World. And I'm mixing that with UV resin. So I haven't tried this before. This is the Green Stuff UV resin, which I think is the one I found works the best. I don't really know what kind of effect the pigment will have on the UV resin and its ability to sort of harden up. But I mean, the neon pigment will make it glow in the dark, and if I can get that to work somehow, then I'm all for it. So that's why I decided to try it out and see if I could make it work. It was a little bit dark to my taste. I wanted to be clearly see-through when it's done, so that it looks like some sort of liquid. So I'm just, I mean, as I said, I haven't tried it before, so I'm just going along with whatever feels right and what I think will work. And then I put it on an old bead of brush and then just try to see if I can put it on the pillow stuffing here. It's a sort of a gel-like liquid, and it's pretty easy to work with. And you can, as you can see, you can work with it with it won't drip or anything. Especially not that now that I've put in the pigment, which I think makes it just a little bit less of a liquid and more of a gel, which suits me nicely for this particular project where I want to be able to control it a bit. And then I just try to apply it. As you can see, I'm not being really careful or anything. This is definitely not something I would recommend for a fancy art project of any sort of kind. But for a fun effect, this is really easy and quick to do. And then I just grab my UV light and hit the gel with that, and so it almost instantaneously just hardens up and becomes something that you can work with again. This is really easy. There is nothing much to it at all. It just works like this right out the bottle. I had to pull down the drapes of my windows because the sun is really shining today, and the UV resin will harden up also, of course, under sunlight. So, but other than that, it's really easy to work with. And then I wanted to do sort of a drip effect also on the, or splash effect you might call it, on my base. And I was being a little bit too optimistic, thinking I could just leave it there. So now I just applied with a tiny bit of the UV resin, and then hit it again with the flashlight to make it harden up a bit. And then I can I think I can go back and apply more of the resin on the fabric here. And as you can see, you can easily see the strands in the fabric, but at the same time it makes a sort of a nice splashing effect. So I don't care too much. Again, this is like a fun effect that I'm going for. This is not something that's going to look really really beautiful or artsy or anything. This is just me thinking that this is fun, and anytime I get the chance to use UV resin, I will. Then it turned out I really didn't like the original effect I'd done from the bowl. I think it was too there was too much of it. It looked, I mean, this is sort of a I don't know. It's sort of a of course, a magical potion thing that is coming out of the bowl. So you might say it doesn't matter how much there is, but it turned out I thought there was too much of it, and it just looked sort of clunky. And I don't mind clunky when it comes to the orcs at all, but for this particular project, I thought it was too much. So I just sort of pulled it out of the bowl, and then I redid the entire thing. But I mean, as I said, UV resin is easy to work with, and it took me perhaps, I don't know, 10 minutes to do the first effect, and then perhaps 5 minutes to do the second one now that I had tried it out. So, I mean, that's at least my approach to doing silly things like this. You know, I mean, try it out, see if it works. If it doesn't work, well, redo it or live with it and say, okay, well, I learned something from it. Yeah, so that is definitely my approach to it, and that's why I also showed you the first step, so you could see that, I mean, you can just redo it really, really easily. I like this way better. I think it has more of a flowing effect, and it's just not as big and clunky piece as the first I was trying to do. Once I'm happy with the colored UV effect, I'd go back over it with my UV resin straight out of the bottle, just to make sure that I get some nice see-through parts. And you can see I even spilled a bit on his a bit on his shawl, but whatever, and I spilled on my fingers. This is a little bit messy. I am by no means I mean, I should be supervised when doing stuff like this, I think, because I always have stuff all over my hands and fingers and my work desk and stuff. But that's just the way it is. And I don't think a lot of people will notice that he's got a little bit of liquid on his cloth. And even if they do, I mean, he's an orc. It can be any sort of nasty thing, right? So I don't mind too much. I'm happy I went over it with the UV, the just see-through UV resin in the end, because I think it makes it even more visible that it's supposed to be a liquid. So here you can see the finished result, and I think, again, this is definitely not something that looks like really beautiful or anything, but I think it's a fun effect, and I definitely had fun coming up with the idea. And I was, I also thought it was cool trying mixing the UV resin with the neon pigments, and I think it worked really well. It doesn't seem to have had any bad effects on the resin at all. I don't know, I mean, it can be a sort of a ratio thing or something. I will have to try it out again, I think. So now I have an excuse to do more stuff with UV resin. So this is, so here you can see where I'm at with it, and I think I'm calling it done. I'm pretty happy with this finished model. You can also see here that it, as I said, UV resin and neon pigment, it has the added benefit of glowing in the dark. Again, no practical use whatsoever. It's just, I mean, it's just fun, right? So I hope you enjoyed this silly little video. If you did, please let me know in the comments, and I would also, of course, really appreciate it if you would consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. If you want to stay up to date on my painting silliness, you are also more than welcome to follow me as Dyson Demons on Twitter and Instagram. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!